My name is Sam. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Fairygodboss. And Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency. We offer a ton of great free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed throughout your career. Before we get started, we will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar. I know a few of you emailed some in already. I have them written down, and feel free to leave them in that Q&A feature. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen. It's a big button that says Q&A. You can leave questions as yourself or anonymously. And as I said, we will get to as many as possible at the end. We're also recording today's webinar, and we will be sending it out in a follow-up email. So if you miss anything or you want to rewatch it back later, you'll have the chance to do so. Here with me today is Kirsten Schmitt. Kirsten is the founder and director of Your Best Edit and an accomplished writer and editor with more than 3 decades of experience. Her results-oriented approach at her company helps her clients to express the essentials and reach their greatest potential through the written word. She has created winning resumes and social media profiles for executives and job seekers in a multitude of sectors, including finance, insurance, technology, health, media, art, fashion, and education. Thanks so much for being here today, Kirsten. Over to you.
Me. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's my pleasure to present this webinar for you, and I'm so thankful to Fairygodboss for hosting. And let's get underway. It seems like we have participants from all over the country, which is really terrific. I am beaming to you from a beautiful day on Long Island in New York. And as Sam said, I'm Kirsten Schmidt. I'm the founder and director of Your Best Edit. And I spent many, many decades writing, editing, proofreading, and copy editing, mainly in consumer magazines. I also did work for universities, for nonprofits, and founded my company, and we're on our way. So this is 10 tips to create an ageless resume. And I founded my business in 2016, mainly because I found a great need for assistance. It is very, very difficult to summarize your own opinion, your own experience, summarize your strengths, and be objective about your own experience and how to present that in words, even if you're a writer yourself. So I found a great need out there to help people, and that's what I love to do. And my experience writing for magazines helped me summarize information, crystallize the essentials, and bring out the best in people. And that's really what I love to do. So it doesn't matter their age. I work with anywhere from students to job seekers to professionals, small business people, artists, creative people, medical professionals, you name it. One of my most recent clients is a wonderful 80-year-old woman who was an executive administrator in television for many, many years. She's worked with Charles Osgood and at CBS, and she needed me to redo her resume. So this is a process everybody goes through, no matter what your age. So I'm going to take you through the tips today, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. You'll be able to either write one yourself, or I'll be able to help you with this. I do specialize also in career transitions and boosting transferable skills. This is such a crazy time with COVID, and many, many people are looking at other options, either working from home, working remotely, and we all kind of have to reinvent ourselves. So I hope that this webinar makes that a little easier for you. All right. So what makes a memorable ageless resume? Mainly authenticity. You want to follow your passion, your heart. You want to present your true self to the hiring manager on paper. Not an easy task, but it is something that you can absolutely do. You want to create a positive and memorable resume with originality and depth. That said, you want to also remain within the confines of a business document and something that will absolutely get read, because you only have a few seconds to get somebody's attention. So you want to showcase your talents and your experience without aging yourself. And I will teach you a few good tricks for success with that. Okay. The most important thing is to determine your goals for the resume and your career. Really helps to pinpoint what your target goal is, where you want to start applying, because each resume must be specific to a job description, which we will get into. So you need to answer the questions: where are you headed? Accentuate the traits that you have experience with and expertise with, and you want to lead with confidence. So your wording needs to be strong and positive and impactful, so that you get past the first heading, the hiring manager really wants to read the rest of your document. So that's our goal for you today. Okay, which marketable skills do you wish to highlight? This is very, very important. You want to think about, again, targeting occupations, industries, job sectors that align with your experience. They don't have to be the job that you have now. There are many, many, many transferable skills: management, leadership, training, all kinds of things that transfer to different industries. And again, we are reinventing ourselves these days, and maybe you're creating a new you, maybe you're going for a promotion where you are, and you have to really highlight and be impactful about your statement to a senior person who's going to be looking at you for a promotion. So, for instance, do you have experience in management, leadership, finance, technology? You need to find a niche that fits like a glove for you and design your resume around it. So that said, you may need to write more than one resume, because not every resume fits every job description. So that is something you really need to pay particular attention to in terms of doing a lot of research. LinkedIn is very helpful with this as well. And there are also many other resources on Fairygodboss, many other webinars that are going to be presented that you can take advantage of to kind of round out the scope of this particular task that you're going to undertake. And this is a task that is going to open doors for you that may have been closed before. So this is a really important thing to do for yourself. So targeting is important, really thinking about what you enjoy doing, what you don't enjoy doing. When I work with my clients, I send them a questionnaire, and it's very important to figure out what you love to do and what you really don't love to do. Because life is short. We all want to be happy and content and satisfied, even in a tough economy, but you don't want to spend 35, 40 hours a week doing something that you don't enjoy. So that is really important to think about. I think we often, when we're interviewing, just think about, will I fit the role? Will the interviewer like me? But really, it's also very, very important for you to figure out, will I enjoy working for this person? Will I enjoy working at this company? Will I enjoy the tasks, the job description? It's a two-way street, and it needs to be a good fit for you. So that is something to really think long and hard about. Make a yes and no list, do's and don'ts, and that can sort of help you even do it on a board. Make a dream board for yourself, the way people do. What do you love to do? So that those are all things to really consider when you are crafting your resume. Have that in mind, have those goals in mind, because as we get older, you really want to be happy in the work that you do. It shouldn't feel like work when you go to work. It should feel like, I really love doing this. You get up in the morning energized, and you feel like, okay, I'm going to make an impact in the world today, no matter what I'm doing. So keep those goals in mind, ladies. Okay. Keywords and more keywords. If you don't know what a keyword is, It is the words, the descriptors that pop out in a job description, and they are going to be critically important in your resume. So once you choose your target job posting, or several of them, print it out on actual paper and use a highlighter and highlight all those keywords, all those responsibilities, all those words that employers are looking for. Those are going to be the job skills that you're going to need to target in your resume, throughout your resume actually. So you're going to note the keywords in the job description, you're going to highlight them, and then you're going to add them to your resume. And it may seem like cheating in a way, but you are actually going to pull directly from the language in the job posting. And this is because there are many companies that use automated systems to scan your resume. And if they don't pick up a high percentage of those keywords in your resume, it will be automatically rejected. So you really want to pull phrases, words, descriptors exactly from how the job description describes tasks, etc. And mirror that language as much as possible in your resume. This is really critically important. And then you're going to quantify your experience with those keywords. Quantifying means, we'll discuss this again in another slide, but it means you need to quantify your experience. It is no use to anyone to say, I'm a hard worker. I'm passionate about mathematics, or I love being a manager. That doesn't tell the hiring manager anything about you. What you need to do is you need to quantify how many staff have you managed? How big was your team? How did you help bring in revenue, and how much was that revenue? Are there sales figures you can quote if you are in sales or any type of job like that? If you work in finance, what companies have you worked with? What clients have you worked with? And I understand that some of that is very proprietary information and you may not be able to share that, and that's fine. But there are many, many ways to quantify your experience. And I do this with my clients all the time. I pull experience out of them and then weave that throughout each of your sections of your job descriptions under different employers. That shows the hiring manager your value and why they need to hire you. They will look at your experience and they'll say, oh my goodness, look how she led this team. She pioneered new technologies and saved the company this much money. Whatever it is, you need to think very critically about each point in your resume and how you can be specific and detailed. Did you work overseas? Did you work with international companies? How many are there? Things like this. Did you overhaul procedures? If so, how did that impact the company in a positive way? If you're a teacher, how many students did you have in your class? Did you do special classes after school? Were you on any kind of leadership teams? Anything like that. So keep that in mind as you are beginning to write. And again, pull from your highlighted documents, pull from the job description, and mirror that language. And that will immediately flag to the hiring manager that this person is a perfect fit for us. They mirror our experience, and they're going to be the one that we're going to at least get in the door for an interview, and that is the goal. So, and then on to the design of your resume. This is also critically important. Good design is the key to a standout resume, at least initially, again, because resumes are going to be scanned and a lot of fancy colors and design will be immediately rejected because that automated system can't read them. So as much as you'd like to have something really pretty and really fancy, You can save that for a version of the resume in person that you can bring with you to an interview, although these days many interviews are remote. So I highly, highly recommend that you scale back and make it as clean as possible. So first point, always use clean fonts, what are known as sans serif, not fancy. You'll see the wording here under fancy is very curly, cursive. You don't want any of that. Look to the cleanest possible fonts. Two of my favorites are Calibri and Arial. They're both perfectly clean, easy to read, and easy to scan. Then no colors, no sidebars, no fancy symbols, and make sure to have enough margins so there's white space. You don't want all of your text flowing across the entire page of the resume, because that will completely turn off the reader. There needs to be enough white space, the way that you read a magazine or you read a book, and there needs for your eye, so the text can be read. Then this is also very important, especially with all kinds of cybercrime. Never put your address or location on a resume. If you are applying for a job, that hiring manager will assume that you're in the right area to work at that job. You do not want someone to get your address and then use it for identity theft, which is so rampant these days. And this used to be the case where people would put their full address on a resume, but please don't do that. It is not important. There are other ways they can get in touch with you. So the key things at the very top are going to be your name at the very top, your full name, especially if you have a common name like I do. I use my maiden name as my middle name, which is Roars. There are many, many Kirsten Schmitts out there. So if you are a Mary Smith, use a middle name if you have one. Then your email. Now, with email, you want to make sure it is a clean, simple, professional email, and make it a Gmail account if you can. And I would recommend establishing a Gmail account specifically for your job search. So your cell phone and also your LinkedIn URL, which you can get from your profile. And if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, you need to get one. Very, very important. Because after you get your foot in the door, even before actually, if a hiring manager is interested in you, the second thing they're going to do after reading your resume is look at your LinkedIn profile. So I recommend to everyone, if you don't have one, it's free, establish one, and once you do your resume, you can transfer a lot of that information to the LinkedIn profile and keep it up to date. Very, very important. Okay, who are you? Say it in a summary statement. There's some back and forth about summary statements, but I have done a ton of research, and I do feel it is very important to make an impact at the top of the resume. And this is another place to use keywords. It basically, the summary statement frames the entire resume and sets it up the way that an opening line in a novel or the first line in a newspaper article, it tells you what to expect. So your summary statement makes a very strong impact in only 3 or 4 sentences. And then you're going to, again, quantify your experience using updated industry terms and keywords pulled from those job descriptions. So again, nothing vague at all. You want this to be bang, bang, bang. This person is terrific. Look what they've done. And you can repeat the experience and the descriptions in the summary statement throughout the details of your resume experience. But you want them to see it right at the top. You want to make an impact. Basically, you're answering in your summary statement why they should hire you. So you are giving them a big, big pow with those 3 or 4 sentences. And you're going to highlight your successes and your strengths and your expertise in that section. So your name at the top, then your critical information, your contact information, and then under that should be your summary statement or profile statement, however you want to word it. Okay, what are your professional skills? And I'm sure many of you have decades, like I do, of professional skills. So under the summary statement, I feel it is also very important to list skills in bullet points. So these are going to go directly under the summary statement. You can put a line to separate it. These will not be sentences. These are going to be bullet points. And then no more, you're going to do 2 columns, no more than 6 or 8 keyword skills. And again, the hiring manager is reading your summary statement. They're incredibly impressed. Then they're going to scan down to the professional skills and they're going to say, my God, she's fabulous. She's done management. She's done stock analysis. She's done management, job projections, you know, whatever jobs you're going for, writing, communications, social media content. You're going to use these descriptors like communications, arbitration, project management, stock analysis, whatever fits the job description. And here you do not use sentences. You are only using these short word descriptors for this section. And those are going to, I usually bold them so they stand out. They don't have to be in a very large type, but this section is very, very important. So then, okay, this section is going to probably be your biggest challenge. This is your professional experience. And not to age yourself, you don't want to go back, I would say more than 10 or 15 years. What I do for my clients that have decades of experience is generally keep it within 10 or 15 years. If you wish to list other companies that you've worked for, just to show your experience, once you get to the bottom of that section, you can just list the company name, the years you worked there, etc. But keep it concise, because you are going to lose your reader if you put every job you've ever had in your entire working life, in your career. It's too much information. They will get the idea that you are qualified within 2 pages. So the first thing to do is list the jobs from present day, whether you're employed or not employed, your last job, in the present tense. So that first job that you're going to list, if you are still employed, all the wording in that section should be in the present tense. Manage a team of 6 staff, lead meetings, write reports, whatever it is, all in the present tense with your keywords, of course. Recruiters, generally speaking, favor chronological resumes. There are functional resumes, but I don't recommend them. I think that chronological resumes really are the standard. They're also going to be scanned again in that electronic system for many, many companies. And functional resumes will be rejected. If you don't know what a functional resume is, it's more about skill sets and descriptors of skill sets in sections. So if you can avoid it, I would advise not to use a functional resume. Stick with the chronological. It's very concise, it's very easy. So once you get past the first job that you have now, if you are employed, all of your wording will be in past tense. Just make sure to be very consistent. Of course, pay attention to grammar, etc. And again, you're going to be utilizing those keywords and the quantifiable experience. You are going to sprinkle keywords throughout your entire resume. I cannot stress this enough. Use them over and over again, here, there, and everywhere, because this is what the scanning computer system is going to pick up. The more you have, the higher percent of your resume will get in front of a real person. And also, once that real person, the hiring manager, sees your document, they will say, she's great. Look, she has decades of experience, and this is exactly what we're looking for. So this is what you want to do. And then again, you want to quantify all of your experience as much as possible throughout your professional experience. So anywhere you can provide numbers, revenue, sales figures, projects you've led, whatever it is, you need to present this. And this can be done no matter what experience you've had, even if you are going for a new career in something else. Most skills these days, most professional skills can be transferable. And there's a way to achieve that in the wording. And so that is critically important for you to keep in mind as you're doing this. So again, try not to go over 10 or 15 years. It's just too much. And you definitely want to keep your resume to 2 pages if possible. Even if it's being sent online, which most likely it will, it's too much to read and the hiring manager will be turned off. So keep these points in mind. It will take you a while to write this out. Give yourself at least a week. I do this with my clients. I go through 3 different edits with my clients with questions back and forth before we come up with the final approved resume. You want to give yourself time to reflect on the language. Make sure you're not repeating the same words over and over again. Get yourself a good thesaurus. They're online as well for free. Use it. Use it as much as possible so that you're not, just copying and pasting the same words over and over again. Give it some depth and give it some variety, and that will make it much more interesting to read. Okay, your education. Now this is a place where many, many applicants age themselves and your relevant experience. So you are going to have your education section under your professional experience. You're going to list the name of your college or university, the city and state where it is, with your most recent, most advanced degrees first. Then you list your degree and major, but never, never, unless you graduated yesterday, do not put in your graduation date. Nobody needs to see this, nobody cares, and it will age you. You don't need to put that in. And I've seen it so many times, and it just, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. It is not relevant to your experience and it doesn't need to be in there. This is also a place for you to list any kind of certifications, licenses, relevant courses under the same format as you're listing the universities, colleges, etc. If you have finance, you've completed the FINRA courses, the series courses, list them there. If you have certifications in anything, if you've taken other courses, like for instance, I took a social media marketing course and I have a certification in that. I also took, at one point I was interested in working in the nonprofit world, and I took a series of courses and got certified in that. So whatever it is, teachers often have to have certifications renewed, and they have to keep going back to school. Put all of that information there. So if you're not a college graduate, that's fine. If you have attended college but you did not graduate, I would put the name of the college and whatever relevant coursework that you took, such as finance, accounting, education, math, whatever it is. You can list that there. And I would not put high school information on a resume. You can put that on LinkedIn to connect with alumni, but I really would leave it off. Also, if you've done any postdoctoral work, this is where you want to put it. And if it is not a degree program and it is just research, if you're in science or technology, I would list it there as well. So that would be the format for the education and your relevant experience. I would also put languages. If you know any foreign languages at all, you're proficient. You can put fluent. You could put working knowledge of French or German or Spanish, etc. But that is very helpful to be bilingual. If the job requires it, it may not, but they may see that as a plus for you. So I would absolutely put any language skills that you have, also American Sign Language if you have that, whatever would be relevant to the job that would give you a leg up with your experience, and put that in there. You just never know when something might catch the hiring manager's eye and see you as more of an asset. So again, think carefully when you're putting all this information down, and think about all of your life experience, everything you've done, and what can go in these sections here. So here's another area that can greatly age an applicant. You want to make sure, especially these days when most people are working remotely, many people are working remotely, that you are up on your technical and computer skills. And you're going to combat ageism with being tech savvy. Obviously, you know Google Zoom because we're on it today. And if you're not comfortable with it and you have to do an interview, I would practice setups at home with friends and family, set up your lighting, you want to, etc. Just practice so that you're comfortable when it comes time to interview. And then you want to make sure that you also know how to use workplace messaging apps. These are very, very important. They're very useful today, again, with remote working, any kind of Microsoft Teams. There's a new one called Flock, and Slack is very common. It's a way of communicating with teams of staff, posting questions, responding, answers, and it's quick. It's somewhat like messaging if you haven't used it, or texting, but you can open Slack on your computer or on your phone, answer questions from colleagues, from an employer. So if you are not up to date on these things, you can practice online. If you can go to your local library if it's open, or see if they have any online programs if you're concerned about or nervous about how do I do this, you can practice. And many, many libraries across the country have free programs, free training. I would also very, very highly recommend that you tap into the Small Business Administration. It's at sba.org. They have fantastic free resources for all kinds of learning, all kinds of technical programming courses. And I can tell you, if you want to start your own business, like I did, that they have free mentors. They're called SCORE mentors, and they will see you once a month for an hour. And they're open to anybody who is either starting a business, has a business, wants to learn more. How do I increase my sales revenue, my marketing? And they will set you up with experts. But even if you don't have your own business, utilize their website for the free resources. They're out there. We pay taxes for them, and use them. They're fantastic. And of course, if you are unemployed right now, there are also sources online from the unemployment, from the Department of Labor. Those are all out there for free. So all of these skills that you're going to be really snappy with and really comfortable with, you're going to list these on your resume as well. And these are going to go at the bottom of the resume. And I would definitely list Microsoft Office. That is a basic. That is a baseline. If you are not comfortable with Microsoft Office, this is something you need to get on immediately. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. You want to make sure you're comfortable. You can use all of these things, whether you're on a PC or a Mac, it doesn't matter. And you're going to list all of your technical skills going. If you're using an editing program, you're going to list that. If you are in nonprofits and you're using something to raise funds, Salesforce is one that's very popular. So any programs, any systems that are commonly used in the industries that you are applying for, research it, look at it, look at the job description, see what they're asking for. Those are often things that will say on a job description, not necessary, but a plus. You want to have that plus. You want to make sure that you are well educated and savvy, and you know you're comfortable with this program, and you can say, yes, I'm up on this. I'm ready to go, ready tomorrow. If you hire me, I'm comfortable. So just keep all of that in mind as you're going through your job descriptions. Look at the whole thing. Even if it says not necessary, go the extra mile. You want to make sure you're up on all the technology that's being used today, because that indeed will aid you if you don't have that. So that's going to go at the very bottom of the resume. And again, you don't want to go over 2 pages. You can make your fonts a little smaller, but I would not go under anything smaller than a 10-point font for your resume. If it is smaller than that, it's going to be very difficult for the hiring manager to read. In that case, if you have too much information and you really feel it has to go on there, you need to start editing. So the more experience you have, sometimes the less you have to say, because you can say it in fewer words and it will speak for itself. Okay, so my goal for you is that you get hired and that you can take these tips that I'm giving you and you can go out there, you can make a fabulous resume, and you can get your dream job. And that is definitely the goal. So if you do need assistance with writing or editing, feel free to contact me. I offer a free 15-minute phone consultation, and I'm happy to work with all of you. You can contact me at info@yourbestedit.com. You can call me at 516-297-7667 for the free consultation. And again, I specialize in career transitions and transferable skills for people of all ages. And please check out my website at yourbestedit.com. You'll see my bio, I have a client list, and all of my services. And I want to thank you so much for being with me today and joining us at Fairygodboss. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kirsten, and thanks everybody for attending today. Now we're going to move into Q&A. I've already seen a ton come in the Q&A. I also see some in the chat, but just so everyone knows, we can only manage the ones in the Q&A. So if you have a question, please redirect it there. But let's jump right in. The first question that came in, I saw from a few attendees actually, are bullets okay to use on a resume, and will those get through an ATS system?
Absolutely. Bullet points are really terrific because if you put your experience in all sentences under a heading, like let's say you worked for ExxonMobil as a gas and oil analyst, and you put all of your experience in a block with sentences, it's going to be almost impenetrable for the hiring manager to read it. So yes, bullet points are terrific. They're a great graphic tool. They will delineate your experience and they will get through those automated systems. So yes, definitely use bullets under each company that you've worked at, as well as your education. You can use it there as well, and in your professional skills.
Perfect. We had this question come in a few different ways, again, from a few different people. But an anonymous attendee asked, I've worked for my current company for 24 years, but I'm unsure if they'll survive the pandemic, so they're looking for new opportunities. And their question is essentially, how do you play up that longevity, being at a company for so long without looking old and having to play down the lack of variety that other people may have?
If you've been at a company for that long, it is likely that you have not been in the same position while you're there. So what I would do is utilize your different job titles, put the header as the name of the company, and under that indent a little bit and put whatever the most recent job title is and the dates, and then those responsibilities. I have this a lot for people who have been at companies for many years, And it is really important to break those, that experience into blocks. And let's say you were an assistant started as an assistant, then you worked your way up to a manager, and then you're a VP, whatever it is, you've been doing different things in those positions. Even if they're similar, use different language. So you're just going to indent a little bit for those job titles and then list your experience with bullets again.
Great. This question is about summary statements. They're asking, should we mention more hard skills or soft skills in the summary statement? And would you recommend tailoring every single summary statement on your resume for different job roles that you're applying for?
Yes. Yes to everything. Yes, soft skills and hard skills mixed. People are looking for a mixture of both. They want a congenial employee. The only thing is stay away from platitudes. There's a way to mix those descriptors in the summary statement. And yes, absolutely tailor each summary statement to each job. That sounds like a lot of work. However, if you are looking for a job is your job. This is something you should be devoting at least 5 to 7 or 8 hours a day, reaching out to contacts, networking. So yes, the work is going to get you the job. So you need to tailor each and every summary statement to specific job descriptions.
Great. This next question came in from Krista and Trixie, and I'm sure somebody else, but I've only been able to read theirs so far. But it's about taking a career break. Now, both of them took time off to raise their children. And in that time, they've both done different volunteer work, it looks like. But they're worried about including that on their resume because then it will, as one said, it's hiding their actual career experience. So they want to get back into the workforce. And I think Trixie here said 14 years ago, she was doing the career that she now wants to go back into, but she's afraid that if she includes her volunteer experience, it's just pushing down her career experience. And Krista has something very similar going on. So I guess the question is, how do you balance filling in the gap, of not having a career and doing that volunteer experience without hiding the experience rather that you think is the most relevant to what you want to be doing?
That can be a tricky balance. I would say there are many tasks that you do as a volunteer that are transferable. And just because you don't get paid for a position, and there's such tremendous value in being a parent, but when you're volunteering, you don't need to tell anyone on your resume that you didn't get hired. You don't need to say in quotes, this was a volunteer position. Nobody needs to know that. So there are many titles you can come up with for that volunteer experience and the dates that you did it, and that is valuable experience. So I would not discount that at all. I think many of us feel, well, it was just this, or I just did this on the side while I was, at home with my children, or whatever it is. Don't discount that. That is valuable experience, and make the most of it if you can. If it doesn't apply whatsoever to the position that you're going for, you can think about doing a functional resume. So, or you can explain, you can speak to the interviewer, or you can leave a gap in your resume. So you have options. I would say primarily maximize the volunteer experience, maximize what you did there, and see if anything that you did in those volunteer activities is a really hard transferable skill that you can use to your advantage.
Great. This next question came in from Anne and Trina, and it's about education. They both want to know, essentially, do you include all of the degrees that you've ever had, or do you just include those that are most recent, or those that are most relevant?
I would use everything you have, because you just never know the scope of a job just from a job description. If you have graduated, if you have, and even if it's in a different area, you have valuable education. I myself never went to school as a writer. I didn't go to school to study journalism. I was an art history major. I still went to college. I have a graduate degree, and I put that on my resume. You can be sure, because that is your part of your education, is who makes up who you are. And I think it shows determination that you graduated, and especially if you have multiple degrees, absolutely include it.
Awesome. And then on that topic, I saw this question come in a few times as well. What if you're forced to include the graduation date? You know, is there anything that you can do to help that? Or do you just have to do it and work around it in other parts of your resume?
I wouldn't include it. I really wouldn't, if you don't have to. If you're on one of those electronic applications where you're not allowed to advance unless you fill in certain information, then I would put it in. But if you are sending a PDF of your resume, do not include it on there. I mean, if it's going into a system and it's going to reject you without those dates, then I would put it in.
Cool. And then with that, actually, since you just mentioned it, Sarah wants to know, are PDF resumes picked up by Ats Systems, or do I need to use a different format?
Both Word and PDFs are picked up. And I generally advise my clients to use PDFs if they're applying directly to a hiring manager, because then nobody can change your experience. Nobody can edit it or alter it in any way. It can't really be copied and pasted. So PDFs are definitely preferable. There's a lot of back and forth online. There's research done about whether you just need to send in Word documents. The older systems use the Word documents. So I would do some research on the companies that you're applying for and see if you can kind of go through the back door, see what's been written about them online, and see what they use. So do some detective work. Use LinkedIn, absolutely. The other really valuable tool is Glassdoor, which tells you salaries and reviews. But another way to get around this is to see if you can make a contact in the company and talk to a person directly and see how the system works. So you have some options there.
Great advice. This question came in from Elizabeth and Krista. They want to know, do you suggest including a picture or a headshot with your resume?
Absolutely not. No, you do not fussy up your resume with a photograph. This is what LinkedIn is for. For LinkedIn, you should absolutely have a very clean photograph of yourself. If you don't want to pay to have a headshot, have someone take a picture of you with a neutral background, no pets, no children, nobody else in the photograph or the image. You want this to represent, you want to be friendly, approachable, but professional. This is how you want someone to see you on LinkedIn. I would also highly recommend that you do not use a standard header on LinkedIn. You know, they have a visual graphic. Either go to a stock house, and if you're not a graphic designer, you could hire one. But I just had a client who I worked with, an older gentleman, CEO in the gas and oil industry. And I said, your header is very generic on LinkedIn. I really recommend that you look at stock images. And he did, and he ended up having a graphic designer make a beautiful chemical symbols into a pattern to use as his background. And I thought that was so clever and so relevant. So you're really branding yourself with that banner. But the headshot is critically important on LinkedIn, but do not put it on your resume.
Perfect. I saw this question come in from quite a few people. It's about taking online courses. How should those be listed on a resume? Should they be listed on a resume? Even when you haven't obtained an actual certification, you've just completed a course. How do you go about that?
I would list the name of wherever you took it from, wherever you took the course, whether it is Media Bistro or Linda or another online. There's so many online universities these days, places you can take courses. I would list that first. list the name of the course, and list the dates. And you can say completed specifics if there are any specifics, or you could say completed 6-part course. It does not have to be a certification, absolutely, because that is showing that you are advancing your intelligence, your knowledge, your scope in the career that you're going after, the career that you already have. You're staying up to date, so that is really important. I would absolutely list courses, yes.
Great. An anonymous attendee wants to know, should you include any hobbies or personal activities if they might be relevant to the position or industry on the resume, or are those better suited for a cover letter or an interview even?
That is a tricky question. Depends on what your hobby is and what job you're going after. I would generally say absolutely do not put any kind of hobbies or personal information on a resume, but if it is so relatable that it is part of a job description, better to address that in a cover letter, not the resume itself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We had a few different questions come in kind of on the same topic, so I'm going to switch here for a second. This attendee asked, with diversity being such a hot topic these days, can you change your name or not put your name on your resume? They don't want to be discriminated or excluded just because of their name. It gives away who they are a little bit.
Oh no, you absolutely have to put your name on a resume. You can't be anonymous. There is no way around that. And if that company is discriminating in that manner, you don't want to work for them.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. And then Jennifer asked a very similar question. She has volunteer experience in a small nonprofit, but she said listing them might give away her religion and race, ethnicity, and she's not sure if she should include them, even though she thinks the experience is relevant.
Again, one would hope that these wouldn't be issues for people these days. Unfortunately, there's so much divisiveness in the world. But again, you should be proud of who you are and what religion you are, what your beliefs are, and I would no way hide that if it's relevant to any kind of job that you're looking for. So again, if a company is going to be, or an organization, a nonprofit is going to be discriminating against you for your beliefs, don't work for them.
Thank you. This is a cool question. If you speak on industry-related panels or industry-related conferences, do those get listed on a resume, or again, are those more suited for the cover letter and interview portion?
I would list that. I would highlight that on LinkedIn for sure. There's so many places on LinkedIn where you can expand that kind of experience. You can put groups you follow, more of the really outside the scope of your actual professional experience. However, if you are speaking as a representative of a company that you work for or an organization, that is definitely something that you can put into a bullet point. Absolutely, because that is in the scope of your job. But if it is something that is slightly outside of that, if it's something that you did more of on a personal level, then I would either leave it to LinkedIn or in a cover letter if the experience that you spoke about, or the topic that you spoke about, the industry, is relevant, then you can broach that in a cover letter. But if you're a representative of your organization and you're on a panel, absolutely put that in.
Joanne wants to know, and I'm sure a few people have the same question, how does a creative person, so somebody who doesn't necessarily work in sales, how do you quantify the work you've done and the results you've achieved if you're not actively collecting that information?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can certainly, who your clients are. If you're an artist, if you've had shows, if you've had projects, if you have clients who buy your work, gallery shows. There are many, many ways to quantify creative life. If you're in theater productions, if you're a director, if you're a producer, if you've written books, there are many, many ways that you can, if you have clients that you do creative work for, or if you're just a creative artist on your own, how do you make your money? Who's buying your work? Are you shown internationally or nationally? Are you in museum collections? Do you teach? Do you teach what you know? So again, think about the broad picture if you're a creative person, and it doesn't have to be in revenue. It doesn't have to be in sales. People work at all different kinds of things. So you can say, you know, how many years you've been an artist, a professional artist, shows you've been in, and what kind of things do you produce? You know, what range is your production? Do you paint? Do you do graphic design? Do you make books? Do you translate any of your works into other kinds of materials? I happen to be a quilter. I've been a quilter for 30 years, and I make all kinds of things. And I have an Etsy shop. So there are many ways to express yourself creatively and to maximize upon that experience. And you need to write down all the things you do with your talents, and you'll be very surprised at how extensive that can be. So I would maximize all of that. And if you get stuck, ask a close friend or a family member. Sometimes they're better at reflecting on your talents than you are. So I would bounce that information off somebody else.
Great. And with that, I think we have time for one more question. So this attendee wants to know, many applications require an expected salary. They're currently changing industries, so they don't have a good sense of what they should be asking for. So I think this question is two parts. A, how should people be looking up how much they deserve to be paid, especially if they're changing into an industry they've never worked in before? And would you recommend including that upfront in a resume or cover letter of what you expect your pay to be? Or would you recommend waiting if they have that ability to wait and ask it further in the process?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And luckily for people who are looking for jobs these days, it is now becoming, I don't know if it's nationwide, but it's certainly in New York. Employers are no longer legally able to ask you, what did you make at your last position? And because they used to be able to ask you this. So I would say the first step in this is absolutely, if you're changing industries, do your research. Look at job postings, some of which have salary ranges, some do not. You can also look up, just put a question into Google. What does a technician, a clinical technician, or a radiologist, a starting out radiologist make? And you will get a lot of information. I would also go back to Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a really great, you'll get hard facts in terms of money and salaries, and also what starting out, what positions are. The other place I would go, if you are a college graduate, take advantage of the Career Counseling Office as an alumni. That is free advice, and they have at their fingertips that information. So I would definitely go back as an alum and take advantage, contact a counselor and say, look, I'm transitioning into a new career, or I'm targeting this particular job sector. What can you tell me about starting salaries, about transitional salaries? And they should absolutely be able to help you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kirsten, for your time and advice today. We all appreciate it so much. Thank you, everyone who joined. I'll be sending all of Kirsten's contact info in the follow-up email along with the recording, so you'll have access to all of that. And to everyone whose questions we didn't answer, I'd recommend you go on to Fairygodboss. Kirsten herself is a Fairygodboss expert and constantly on the feed. And we have millions of other women who are eager to help you in any situation and can definitely answer your questions. So thank you all so much for attending today. We'll catch you at the next one. And thanks again, Kirsten. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for taking part.
Bye.
Bye-bye.